Okay, okay, everyone. So here we are. Good morning again. So we now come to the part 2 of this series of talks and contemplations about the Dhamma. And this one I have called Firing Up the Engines of Spiritual Growth. Why have I called it that? Because you've got to call it something. And this sounded like a suitable name. So you got to have a name of some kind. And one of the ideas behind this is that to really make progress on the spiritual path, we have to develop certain qualities, certain basic things that kind of enable the whole Buddhist path to kind of work. And one of the kind of fundamental ideas is often what I say at the end of every retreat. There's only one thing that you need to recall, and that is the idea of kindness. If you can remember that, you're going to do very well on the spiritual practice. But that kindness in return really is just another way of talking about metta, this Pali word which can be translated as kindness or friendliness or love or all of these kind of things. And so developing ideas like metta, including maybe karuna, which is compassion, is really what allows the entire path to unfold in a very nice way. And it is something that is very practical. It is very easy to do. Or maybe easy to do is the wrong way. It is something you can integrate in all parts of your life. It is easy in that sense. And so this is kind of the idea behind this. What are some of the basic things that we can do to ensure that the path is always practiced, that we kind of integrate it with every aspect of what we are doing here? And so this is going to be, a focus is going to be on this idea, this word metta in Pali, and the suttas we're going to look at are going to have that as the theme, if you like. So I'm going to start off by looking at the Mettasutta. So the reason for that is because that is probably the most famous Buddhist text on metta practice. And the rest of the suttas can be regarded as a commentary on that, or an expansion of the ideas that we find in the Mettasutta. So we're going to look at that one first, because it is a beloved sutta of the Pali tradition. Mettasutta, found in the Sutta Nipata. This is the part of the Khuddaka Nikaya, the shorter collection, and this is the 8th sutta of the Khuddaka Nikaya, is the Mettasutta. And it is maybe one of the most recited and well-known suttas of the entire Pali tradition. And so that is maybe reason enough to go through it. And it is often considered one of what they call one of the 3 kind of cardinal suttas. This is what Bhikkhu Bodhi calls it. Sometimes he uses strange language. Cardinal suttas. Okay, sounds good. We call it one of the 3 cardinal suttas. And together with the Ratana Sutta and the Mahamangala Sutta. The Ratana Sutta is the sutta on gems, treasures. And the Mahamangala Sutta we already looked at in great detail in the first part of this retreat. So if you want to know more about the Mahamangala Sutta, if you weren't here for the first part, then you can go back and look at those recordings that will be made available. Bob, is that correct? They will be, yeah? Okay, great, yeah. So that is, so they are part of these 3 beautiful suttas. The Ratana Sutta is also very interesting. I won't be doing it on this retreat. But it is more about the gems, what it means to be an Aryan. Who are the Arya Pugalas, the noble people, and the qualities that they have. It's also very inspiring, but maybe not quite as practical. And so I have left out the Ratana Sutta, but I did a long series, the whole of the Rains retreat in 2024, I think, was on the Ratana Sutta at Bodhidharma Monastery, and looking at that sutta in particular. So it is available somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where, but somewhere it is available. There's lots of stuff available. Not sure exactly how these things work, but anyway. So we're going to look at the Mettasutta. And as I mentioned, for the Mahamangala Sutta, what is so interesting about almost all the suttas of the Buddha is that they are gradual. There is a sequence to them. And you may wonder, when you read the Mettasutta, you chant it in English or in Pali. I don't know if you may understand some Pali words, but if you chant it in English, you will notice that actually, what does this got to do with metta? Yeah, it starts off talking about being, all of these qualities that we're supposed to have, and after a while you realize that a lot of the Mettasutta is not really about metta as such. It's about being upright, about being gentle, about all of these kind of things. I mean, you can argue that this is included in metta in a very broad sense, and everything in that way is kind of included in metta. But what you realize is that actually the Mettasutta is the whole path. It's the whole spiritual practice from the very beginning to the very end. And this is one of these things about, again, the suttas of the Buddha. They tend to have this very broad scope about them. They tend to be a full gradual training, starting out at the very beginning, moving towards the very end of the practice when you become an arahant or whatever. And the same is true of the Mettasutta. So it's not just really metta, it's much broader than that. But metta is the core of what it is about. It is about using metta to enable this path to work. That's kind of what it comes down to, I suppose. So a very broad text, and for that reason also very, very complete and very inclusive. And this is a general, what I recommend you if you ever read the suttas, is a very general advice, is to understand that things are graduated in the suttas. There's always a sequence to things. Things are not random. Things are structured in a very particular way. And so, for example, the 5 khandhas, you may think, oh, this is just the 5 things that make up a human being or whatever, but actually it is also structured. There's a sequence to the 5 khandhas. The 5 nivaranas, the 5 hindrances, there's a structure to them. These are things that may not obviously have a structure to them, but they do have a structure. And they often begin with the more basic and lead to the more profound, or they begin with the simple leading to the deeper, or they lead with the there's a certain structure to these things. They begin with the most important and lead to the more refined, something like that. There's always a certain way that these things are put together. The Buddha put a lot of thought and a lot of attention into articulating the Dhamma in a way that was very consistent and very complete. Okay, so let us look at this Mettasutta and see what the Buddha has to say about this. By the way, this sutta only exists in the Pali language. Apparently there is no Agama version of the sutta. There is, if you look in the what is known as the Chinese canon sometimes, basically means the Buddhist canon translated into Chinese. If you look at that, you will not find the Mettasutta there, which is unusual. Most of the suttas are found everywhere, but you don't find it there. I don't think you find it in any Tibetan suttas either. I don't think it exists in Sanskrit or any other kind of Indic language. So this is quite unique to the Pali suttas. Does that mean it's dodgy? Sometimes this is the argument. If it's only found in Pali, I don't know if it's it's original. Maybe someone made it up afterwards. Because actually we don't really know exactly the provenance of a sutta like this, where it originates from. But the main point, if you think maybe it is not authentic, you have to look at the content and see whether the content matches with the other suttas. And I think it mostly matches with the other suttas. There's a couple of things we might question on the way, but largely it matches what you find in the 4 main Nikayas, etc. So I think it is fairly safe to say that we are on authentic Buddhist grounds as we go through the suttas. Are you like me? Are you concerned about authentic suttas? You like to have the real deal? You don't want some inauthentic, half-baked sutta. We want the fully baked stuff. Okay, so let's... what am I doing? I'm pressing some random keys here. Let's get rid of that. Okay. So, Mettasutta. Let's look at the first verse. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. So, the karaniyang atta kusalena. Karaniyang is what should be done. Attan kusalena is what is by one who is skilled in atta. Atta means what is beneficial, what is meaningful, what is the goal, what is the purpose. It can also mean the good, like in goodness here. So all of these things are really included here. So this is what should be done by anyone who has any clue about what matters in the world, basically. So so that's kind of what this is about. And who knows the path of peace can also be understood as someone who has penetrated and understood what peace is. Santang padang abhisamecha. Santang padang means the peaceful state. Someone who has known the peaceful state. It's quite difficult to translate some of these verses. Some people would say someone who, having understood the peace of state, the state of peace, or one who knows the path of peace. It's quite different, right? And this is one of the problems with translating some of these verses. It's quite hard to know. So in one sense, it means someone who is already a stream enterer, they practice in this way. In another sense, it means everyone practices this. And I think it is all a bit more meaningful for us if everyone practices it, because otherwise it is. But even if it is limited to the stream enterer, of course, it relates to everyone. I think this is one of those things on the path you have to be careful about. Sometimes the Buddha talks about what the Aryans, the noble ones, do. But actually, what the Aryans do is what we should also try to do, right? We should try to be little Aryans, Isn't that right? We should kind of have we should bring out the little Aryan within us and bring that one out and kind of practice accordingly. So we should all be noble people to the best of our ability. That's kind of the point of this. So it doesn't matter that much how we translate it. The path of peace, Santang Padang, the peaceful state. In the end, Buddhism, a lot of Buddhism is about peace. There's so many beautiful words that talk about the end point of Buddhism, what Dhamma really is about. Yeah, it's about freedom. We talked about freedom just on the other during the other retreat. Yeah, freedom is a very beautiful idea. Everyone wants to be free. Wow, freedom! Yes, I can go for that. We kind of understand that we are often sort of in a kind of inner prison of our own. Yeah, the external prison, okay, we're not in prison, fortunately. If those who are in prison, they can't make it here, so they wouldn't be here. So, but there's also this inner prison, and that inner prison is one of the things we want to be liberated from. So there's peace, there's liberation, there is the idea of understanding and insight, understanding the nature of reality, Yata Bhuta Nanadasana. There is the idea of happiness. There's the idea of having equanimity and being cool about the world. And all of these things are to do with the end point of the Buddhist path. It's almost any nice word you can come up with, and it kind of refers to the end point of the Buddhist path. And it incorporates all of these things into it. It's just incredibly inspiring when you start understanding what's going on. Everything you ever wanted really is included in the results of this Buddhist practice. In fact, not just all the things you ever wanted, things you didn't even know you wanted them until you got them, and then you realize, actually, I wanted those as well. I just didn't know about them, but now I understand, and I wanted that as well. So there's kind of everything you ever wanted, plus much more that you didn't realize you wanted in the first place, but you realize you should have wanted it. That was a mistake, not wanting it. So this is what this is all about, and this is why metta matters, because it leads us to all of these things. So then now comes the thing I was talking about, that it is not just about metta. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited. This is the kind of the chant that we do. Do you do that over here, Bobby, in English? Not in English, just do Pali. Should do in English, so people can understand. Otherwise, it's just words. Otherwise, it's nice to do so you can understand these things. But now you can get to understand it anyway. So to be able and upright, able just means that you are able. You do things well. Sakko is a Pali word. You just do things well in your life. You don't do things in a dodgy way, and you ensure that you have sufficient knowledge and understanding to do things well. Upright just means that you have an upright life, ujju. And that means an upright person is someone who lives with integrity and morality, upright. Upright also means a mind that is not crooked by defilements. It's both of those things. It's the conduct, and it's also the defilements of the mind are included in upright. Straightforward and gentle in speech, suhujju, Sakko and Suvacho, thank you. And this is actually wrong, this translation. This is the translation given by, I'm not sure who made this translation, but actually it is not even correct. So whoever did this, I'm sorry, but you have to correct your translation. Because suhudru means the same thing as upright, except the su in front, where it means like very upright. Yeah, you can see I have got my yellow pen there, yeah, to kind of go through it and to kind of point out some of the weaknesses in the translation. And the suvacho means easy to admonish. It's very different from gentle in speech. Su is good and vacha is literally speech, but it is used in the suttas to mean easy to speak to. Yeah, you're easy to speak to, suvacho, and that means easy to admonish. You accept admonishment very easily here. Yeah, then we have so that is suhudru, suvacho. What comes next after that? Humble and not conceited. What is the next one, Niwern? Have you got the Pali there? Mudu. Mudu. Yeah, Mudu Anatimani. Right, Mudu Anatimani is the next one. So, yeah, Mudu means soft. Soft, gentle. It does not mean humble. Don't know why they put humble there. Maybe humble is implied, but it actually means gentle. Gentle or soft. Yeah, not conceited. Anatimana, that's correct, largely. So mudu means like you are a soft person. We had, I have told this before, but many years ago we had a lamb that kind of made its way into our monastery, like a little lamb, yeah. And we didn't lost its mummy, didn't know what to do with it. It probably was going to die very soon, and I think it actually ended up dying eventually. But we tried to look after it by giving it some milk and looking after it, and we gave it a name, and we give it the name Mudu. Soft, yeah, gentle, like a lamb, very soft, woolly kind of thing, you know. So that's kind of what it means. So you should be like a little lamb. That's what you should be like. Are you ready to be like a little lamb? Uncertain. So I'm not going to go into all of these qualities in great detail, because each one of these qualities is like almost like a talk in its own right, because there's so much, you know, details. But the general ideas are very uneasy to understand. I want to move on to the real things that is about metta practice, and not kind of dwell too much on all the things that lead up to it. But the point here is that all of these are qualities that are somehow included in metta. If you really want to be friendly, if you really want to have that sense of kindness towards others, well, all of these here are part of that. And if you develop your mind in metta with, you know, meditation, taking it very deeply, then these are the qualities that come out of that metta mind as well. And so one way of kind of seeing if someone has a lot of metta is to see how they live. You know, do they have all of these qualities or not? And that's kind of how you can judge, basically, in part, whether they have the metta qualities. So it's quite demanding, the Buddhist spiritual path. You have to have an enormous amount of good qualities. So there you are. I'm just gonna carry on. So let's look at what more good qualities are required. Contented and easily satisfied, having few duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Yeah, again, very beautiful ideas. Yeah, it's kind of almost hard to imagine how you can have all of these ideas, but if you have some idea what happens in meditation, you will start to understand why it is possible and why that is the kind of highest happiness. Yeah, so contented and easily satisfied. Santuto subaro. Subaro actually means easy to support, quite literally. It's a bit different from satisfied, and so I think it should probably be rendered as easy to support. Remember that this has been translated for chanting, the English, and I think that's the part of the reason why it doesn't always reflect the Pali all that well, because it should be easy to chant, but easy to support. Yeah, you should not be demanding kind of person. Demanding in nature, I think, is that's further down. Okay, yeah, so easy to support. Yeah, so especially as a monastic, yeah, you are not kind of very troublesome and demanding. I need this, I need that. But you just, okay, you're satisfied with whatever is there. easy to support. I mean, in lay life it should be the same. Someone who is easy to support, not very demanding kind of person. Having few duties, not unburdened with duties, as you sometimes will see the translation. Unburdened with duties means that you can have a lot of duties, you're just not burdened by them. That's different from having few duties. And so the idea is to reduce your duties, and that makes for a lighter life. It means less clutter in your mind, less things to think about, less things to be concerned about. So having few duties in its own right is helpful. Of course, unburdened with duties is not wrong. It's not. I mean, obviously, we shouldn't be burdened by duties. We should try to do them in a happy way. That is helpful. But having few duties is also useful. So reducing the amount of things in your life. Frugal in their ways, being frugal. It's kind of nice to be frugal, not to kind of be a spendthrift, not to be a shopaholic, So this is the what is that old saying? Born to shop. Is that some people? That's kind of where you are on trouble. It's much better to be born to practice the Dhamma. That's kind of that's the best way here. Okay, I'm not gonna be frugal. I'm gonna be unfrugal. I'm gonna have some coffee. Yeah. Shop till you drop. That's another one. That's right. Yeah. That's not the Buddhist way. Yes. Dress to kill. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Anyway, are you allowed to kill in the Dhamma? Are you sure? Yeah, right, exactly. There is one thing you're allowed to kill. That's like from the Samyutta Nikaya. Well, it's anger is specifically mentioned in the suttas. So you can. There's one thing you can kill. You can kill anger. You kill anger by metta. So killing with metta. That's kind of nice, isn't it? That's kind of an alternative kind of killing with metta. So that's what we're doing here. Peaceful and calm and wise and skillful. Can you remind me of the Pali as we go through it? Anyone? Have you got the Pali in front of you? Santo, Santindriyo. Okay. Nipako. Okay. Right. Santindriyo and Nipako. That's right. And Santindriyo literally means having peaceful faculties, as you can see here. Yeah. So it means that your faculties means the eyes, the hearing, you're basically the way you communicate with the world, the way you take in information from the world. Those faculties should be peaceful, and that means basically you're not run by desires and aversions and anger and these kind of things. But your mind is kind of calm. Your mind is kind of flat. It has a evenness to it. Yeah, peaceful faculties. And this is the purpose of sense restraint. So this kind of implies sense restraint here to some extent. The peaceful faculties. And of course, peaceful faculties really means a peaceful mind. It's the same thing. Because when you're not kind of being driven by the faculties and the demands of the world, it means that your mind is going to be peaceful. That's kind of the point of this. Nipako, calm, is one of these words that is very hard to translate. There's very little contextual information in the suttas to know what nipako means. But Bhikkhu Bodhi, I think, uses judicious. That's one of the way. You are judicious means that you are kind of someone who balances things. You look at it carefully from various angles, that sort of thing. That's the idea of judicious. And nipako has this element of wisdom to it. Wisdom and alertness. Alertness is another translation for nipako, which I think is used by Bhante Sujato. So again, it kind of, I think the commentaries say it means wisdom, but so many words means wisdom that after a while you have wise, the word wise everywhere, and that kind of defeats the purpose. You have to have a bit of nuance to see the various details don't come out properly if you translate everything in the same way. So santindriyo tanipako. What's the next one? Apagabba. Really? Apagabba. Okay, I see. That's interesting. So peaceful, calm, and wise and skillful. That's a translation of Santindriya and Nipako. That's all. Wow, so many words to translate those two Pali words. Okay, so anyway, so I guess the person here felt that it wasn't clear enough with two words, and so they kind of added some more words in there. But okay, yeah. Yeah, so then we have apagabbo, right? So that not proud. It means like apagabbo means like courteous. Yeah, you are courteous in your dealing with other people. And that's kind of nice. Yeah, as a Dhamma practitioner, we're not kind of rough. We're not harsh. We treat people with courtesy. We follow the kind of the conventions. Often we follow the conventions of society. What is considered to be kind. Yeah, it's not as if when you become a very wise, you kind of remove yourself from society and you get this kind of special wisdom. That means you don't have to follow any of the rules of anyone else. You can do whatever you want. Sometimes you get that feeling in certain wisdom circles that now you are enlightened, so you can do whatever you like. But actually, it's not quite true. There's a little bit of truth to that, because sometimes you see people who are gone a long way on the path, and they do become a bit different, but they also do practice the ordinary kindness in the world. It is not something that you put behind. And so being courteous is part of this. And if someone isn't really courteous or isn't really following the ordinary requirements of society, it's a bit weird. And sometimes it can come from other things than wisdom. It can come from maybe conceit, that you are above everything else, and you don't have to live according to the rules of society. But one of the things that you find in the Vinaya are the rules of the monastics, and what you find there is a large number of rules that have exactly to do with courtesy and to following the ordinary rules of society. The way you eat, for example, you should follow the ordinary rules, and you shouldn't eat with your mouth open and this kind of stuff, which is kind of standard practice. And so this is part of how monastics are supposed to do things. And sometimes if people's conduct is too crazy, it doesn't mean they're enlightened. It just means that they are, I don't know, they're a bit lost or something. That's what it means probably. So don't think of them. But on the other hand, what is also nice about people who are really wise and who have gone a long way on the path, they also don't care that much about the regulations of society. They are more important for them to be at ease and to be wise and to say things as they are. So a little bit of unusual conduct you can also expect from people like that. Sometimes you see people, you see that do strange things. I told the story before about someone like Ajahn Shah, and some of this, they can get away with saying that no one else can get away with. And the reason is because there is a deeper kindness, and people can feel that. And so it's actually okay. It's not as if they are saying things that are really hurtful or anything like that. And someone like Ajahn Brahm, he can also kind of get away with things sometimes that ordinary people cannot get away with. He can get away with his robe kind of trailing behind like a bridal train. Yes, or and he's kind of falling off. But when you know Ajahn Brahm, after a while it's kind of sweet. Oh, that's just Ajahn Brahm. That's the way he is. You kind of, it's not a problem anymore, and it doesn't come from a bad place. It just comes from someone who is just really relaxed. He follows his own teaching of relax to the max. That's kind of where that comes from. So you are courteous. So courteous support, not greedy among kulesu ananugiddo, not greedy among families, or greedy in regard to families. And one of the meanings of that is that as a monastic, if you are well supported by certain people, you should share that support with others. You shouldn't hold on to, this is my lay support, don't stay away. Or well, you got such nice alms food. Where do they get it from? None of your business where I got that alms food. That's why. This is my support. So you're not greedy. You share things as a monastic. You want to share with your fellow monastics, and that's kind of really one of those beautiful things. Anyway, so we're just getting started. So as always, we're going to do the 5-minute breaks in between. So let's do that 5-minute break now, and we can have a few questions afterwards.
Ajahn, good morning.
Good morning.
At the opening of this morning session, you mentioned that Buddha teaching is usually structured.
Yeah.
Did I hear it correctly?
Yes.
So, and when you went on to say the structure, like for example, the 5 hindrances, it is from the gross to the subtle. Is that how?
It is really from the most important ones to the less important ones. That's how I would see those 5 hindrances. So starting with the kind of the ones that are really the foundation for all the other ones. So the sensual desire is like the root problem, basically, that we try to overcome, and most of the other hindrances are a function and almost like depend on sensual desire in a sense for their existence, almost, not quite, but almost. So that is
So that is the general rule of thumb, or it goes.
It's a general rule of thumb. I mean, in that case, it's the most important one that comes first. In other cases, it's more like a sequence. So, for example, in the gradual training, is what you have to do first, and then you move to the next step and the next step. Yeah. So it varies a little bit, but there's always a structure to it, and exactly how that structure works.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Bobby, just. Yeah.
Good morning, Ajahn. I just wish to seek your confirmation of my understanding on this phrase. Peaceful and calm and wise and skillful.
Yeah.
My interpretation of the wise and skillful means that a person, when after learning the suttas and the dharmas, is wise and skillful in applying the dharma in a skillful way.
Yeah.
For example, must know the correct meaning, right? And knows how to apply it in the body, the mind, and the speech.
Good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second part.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's what the Pali is saying, but it's correct in the sense of it's a good approach to Dhamma, right? The problem here is that the translation is not so. I think having peaceful faculties and judicious is actually probably more a correct translation than being peaceful, calm, and wise and skillful. But you are right in your general approach. Your approach is a good one. So that's what matters, yeah.
Okay, which comes to my second question.
Yeah.
After having gone through the many days, my interpretation is that everything else boils down to the body, the mind, and the speech, which integrates with the 8 Noble Path, right? So when one does the 8 Noble Path in the body, the mind, and the speech, that itself brings out the good qualities of a person, and the good qualities of the person itself, can I interpret it as then the Buddha teaching is that itself creates a good karma in the person, and therefore itself brings merits to the person by applying the skillful interpretation of all this. So therefore, if this understanding is correct, Ajahn, so therefore, when it comes to things like giving, be generous in donation, in supporting the monastic life of monks, becomes a bodily action, which itself is a gain from the bodily action. But because of the mind, right, and the speech that comes out in the everyday life of a person, that itself becomes the earning the merits from that itself. Am I correct, Ajahn?
Yeah, that's about right. So all of these things, they are all integrated together, and so when you
body, mind, and speech.
Body, mind, speech. Yeah. So they all merit. They're all kind of building up the good qualities, and making merit is just a way of saying you're developing good qualities inside it because you feel happy. Happiness is a result of making merit, and that happiness is also important for the path. So everything kind of comes together. Whether you're making merit for a good rebirth, or for other people, or for practice in the path, is all the same thing here. So yeah, good. Okay, great. So yeah, you don't need to ask me anymore. You know what you're doing now, so that's good. Great.